Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Jesse with Premier Collectibles. We're here for a live signing, again brought to you by Premier Collectibles with Julian Lennon and Jan Hall. Guys, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know who these amazing gentlemen are in front of me, Julian has had a long withstanding career in music, as well as the author to several children's books. He's an executive Netflix producer and now also a published author to the new book, Life's Fragile Moments. Julie, would you mind introducing Jan to us?
Well, Jan and I met, um, and well, it was the photography book that we're going to be talking about is what had been, an idea and a passion of mine for a long, long time. Um, but it was Tanois that came to me to talk about actually putting one together. And Jan was the artistic director, and also, he was helping me from the get-go define what this book really, what it's all about, what it should be. And obviously Jan has worked on many more than I. Um, you have, I know you have. But I have to say that on a personal note, that I was just, and I've told Jan this to his face, that he was nothing but a gentleman, because we got on like a house on fire. Had very a lot of the same artistic desires and guidelines and focuses focus on working on this. And from the get-go, we said, well, what is this book about? And I said, for me, um, I've been in taking photographs for quite a few years now, but a lot of people really still don't know that I'm a photographer. It's one of the many hats that I wear. But so for me, I really wanted this book to be, I won't say a retrospective, but certainly an overview of much of the work that I've done, or the best or the better work that I've done since I started way back when. And Jan was the one that really helped me focus and see the end of the road, because it was a very complicated position to be in for the very first time, where you have tens of thousands of pictures, and you have initially collections that I had, that I when I first started taking photographs, it would be predominantly because I'd go on road trips for the White Feather Foundation, my charity. And so I would take photographs, hundreds, if not thousands, just to catalog where I was, what I was doing on behalf of the White Feather Foundation. And I just, when I came home with all these photographs, I was thinking, well, this could be a nice collection, but a small collection of that work. But a small collection could be anywhere between 30 and 50 photographs. And so when it came time to do the book, and Jan is saying, well, you're going to have to cut those numbers down on those collections. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? Well, we can only have so many pictures in a book. I said, yeah, but it's a photography book, right? Lots of pictures. But he said, well, I mean, we both basically agreed and came to the conclusion. I mean, you can throw your 2 cents in once I shut up, Jan, but momentarily. But the thing for me, I mean, it was a really, really, really great process, because this is editing to the extreme, because you were trying to tell, let's say, the one story. Say it was from Ethiopia or Colombia, and there were 50 images, and it was trying to tell the same story in 4 or 5 or maybe 10 pictures as with 50 pictures. So that really made you focus on what really is important about the photograph. What message are you delivering? How does it? What are you trying to say in this, or express, or even just showing the truth of the situation? And so that was a tough one, and you know, Jan had to beat me with a stick several times, not literally, of course. Um, but to because he wanted me to see, to also guide that, you know, which pictures were the important ones. um and it was such a pleasure working with Jan. You know, and I think he'll be able to express as well the stresses and strains that we were under, because we were under a really tight time frame, pulling this together, and in order to get it out in time for the schedule that we had agreed upon. So, but it was, you know, it was a real editing process, a learning process, like unlike anything I've been before. But I have to say, just before Jan jumps in, that without this, I'm not sure I could have put the museum show together in Venice. That's, you know, now coming to a close after a few months. Whispers, because the book for me was a guideline in how to present the um, the exhibition in Venice, because that too again was is a retrospective of all the better photographs that I've taken. So it worked hand in hand, and it was magical. I can't be thankful enough for that, and the timing of all of that. But Jan, why don't you step in here a little bit, and I can make some faces in the background.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much more to add to that, but I have to say I've worked on many books before with photographers, architects, artists. This process has been really unique, because usually what happens is a photographer takes, let's say, 10,000 photographs, boils, edits it down, whatever, to like a thousand, and then I come in and get it down to 100, and then we'll do the book. But this whole process kind of happened during these video sessions that we had, like hours and hours and hours in a row, like day after day, which was, I have to say, really smooth. Because usually what happens, I come up with a layout, send it to the photographer, it comes back with a little, notes, and then the layout is done. But this time it was this like crazy process of night and day, and moving images around, making them smaller, bigger, swapping them, cutting them, bringing other photographs back in. It was really intense, but enjoyable. Absolutely, it was so great.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing, the closest thing that actually came to that kind of process was trying to finish my last album, Jude, off during COVID. Trying to mix the album from afar with the mixer, Spike Stent, and it was literally doing this face-to-face stuff that, you know, nobody had really been doing a lot of before, and all of a sudden now it had become this daily thing where you were on camera with someone or a group of people for hours on end. It's you know, again, I've been fortunate that the people that I'm working with, that we've liked each other. Otherwise, it could have been hell. You know,
Yeah.
it could have been really quite ugly. You know, I mean, you can imagine that. You know, you just you don't click, you don't get on. What are you going to do? So very fortunate, very fortunate that Tenoise and Jan, you know, really helped and guided me through this process. But it was grueling. I mean, it was intense. It was truly intense and truly grueling. But at the end of the day, you know, it leaves me wanting more, dare I say.
Hey. I love that. I love that. Well, what I know of the project thus far, and what you both have expressed, I'm sure you're both grateful to be in each other's lives through the beginning, the middle, and the end of the project. And like you said, hopefully there's more to come. So for those of you that are just joining us again, we have Julian Lennon and Jan. How do
There's a lot of people signing up. Hello, everybody out there. Sorry, I would say every country's name possible, but it's that's lots of love. Thank you for joining us.
the international greeting, right? Uh, for those of you that are joining us, though, make sure you go online and get the book at fragilesignbook.com. Julian's is so kind enough to sign a lot of these as well. So make sure
I'm
you get the
signing
book.
in between our conversations, so that's anyway. Please continue.
I
I'll be
love
back
it.
in a minute.
Dig in, dig in. One of the questions that I think has come up was we wanted to ask you about the specific title, "Life's Fragile Moments," and how you developed that through the process. Did it come before the book or during at the end?
Yeah, well, originally I was looking at calling it Hope, to be honest, which is the title of one of my favorite pictures, which is the girl that's kind of the National Geographic kind of shot. That was originally my first choice, but Jan and the team came back to me with a couple of other picture options, which I was hesitant about at first, but again, this is not my world. I don't know the best approach or what sells or what doesn't in this world of photography book, coffee table book. So I'm the student here, very much. Jan, without question, and Tanois have been the teachers, my teachers, and you have to be open to listening to their guidance and and their experience. So a few names were thrown around, but Life's Fragile Moments came up, and it was a lyric from one of my songs, Disconnected, and it really, the moment that came up, and especially with the photograph of Charlotte Wittstock, who's now Princess Charlene of Monaco. It's a lot of the photography are about those delicate moments in life. The really touch and go, the choices we make, the positions we find ourselves in, the vulnerability that we have as humans, as a society, as you know, as cultures, the indigenous tribes and how delicate their livelihoods are and their existence is. So, and just those fleeting moments in time, even with one of my favorite things, which is shooting clouds. Which is how I first started, and all of that came from initially sitting on long haul flights, to the States or Asia. And, back in the day, as I've mentioned this before, we didn't have the tech that we do now on a plane. We had one movie on a projector, on a very, very long flight. And after that, what are you going to do? And so a lot of people would sleep, and I never found it easy to sleep on the plane. And so I would just stare out the window, and I found such beauty in the clouds, the sunrises, the sunsets, and realized and started taking photos, because I also realized at that moment for me that looking out the window and with everybody asleep on the plane, just my window open, and I would either think about everything in life and, what's it all about, Alfie, or nothing at all. And I'd kind of be numb and just shut everything down and breathe. And so that's where the photographs initially came from, looking at beautiful clouds and realizing how fleeting and that these clouds, like everything else in our life, only exist this one moment in time, and they're gone. It's all gone. So that's why this felt like, you know, a great title, because of that, those fleeting moments in our existence and in everything we see, breathe, and love. You know, so it made, at the end of the day, made absolute sense to me, because it incorporates everything on every level.
That's right. That's right. I love that. Jan, when you're working on a new project like this, and I know Julian had pointed to it a bit earlier with the zooms back and forth over video, but what were some of maybe the more harder moments during the project, but then also some of the lighter and most fun moments for you?
You know, maybe I'm romanticizing this here too much, but there hasn't been really hard moments. Julian, can you remember anything?
I tell you what the hard moment was.
Okay, tell me.
I can give you an exact hard. No, and this was quite a funny one. I mean, I can laugh at it now, but we had to edit quite a few photographs down to be on so many pages. What is it? 235 pages? I don't know, something like that. 240 maybe in the end. And so we'd just gone through this really quite enormous process of editing down, again, more photos, to a point where we all seemed very happy. And I thought, wow, we've done it. That's it. We've, and then Jan says, yeah, okay, we've done that. But what? What do you mean, but? But we now have to lose about 30 pages. What?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh,
yeah.
Pity. Yeah. We have to lose about another 30 pages. How is that possible? We've edited so many things down. How is it going to work? And again, what was the most important stuff to keep? And that's really what it came down to. And yeah, I never realized that you could really edit so far down the line, but still be able to deliver the work that spoke in such a way that was emotive and that really told the story. You know, it's astonishing, it's staggering that. Well, I mean, paintings do that too, but certainly photography. One photograph can change your opinion about life in a heartbeat. So it was a really great learning process for me on so many levels.
Yeah, I remember, but you know, it's harder for the photographer to cut images than for the designer, because this is my job, editing photographs. This is kind of what I do every day. So that wasn't so hard for me, but understandably for every photographer,
it was heartbreaking.
To lose an image is hard, but we made it. And again,
very different.
It's just there's photographers, and it's been really nice that, Julian, you haven't been a diva about things, you know. When we noticed that one image can go and I suggested something, you were like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
move on.
And
this is really rare. This is extremely rare because, artists, architects, photographers, they love their work and they don't want to let just a single thing go in a publication. So that made a huge difference, that you were so kind of open, flexible, easy.
Well, thank you. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, all of this was new to me, this whole process. It just, I had to, take their lead really in the approach. And I think, as with anything in life, the more the more you kind of mature within your work, that I think if you can talk it through, the pros and cons of why this should be here, why it shouldn't be here, or maybe that other picture displays enough of that you don't need this one as well. Comments like that made sense at the end of the day. So if there was a logical angle to that, then you kind of had to back down. And that worked, by the way, both ways. So if I felt strongly, about a particular image or collection or a few images, then you got to fight for it without question. But within reason and with respect, and seeing the bigger picture at the end of the day, and what it really represents.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm sure y'all built a wonderful repartee over the project. I can only imagine.
Listen, we're still speaking to each other, and we're here today.
That's right. With the inclusion of a moderator, I guess, is the only
Indeed.
Hey, what's something that you think would surprise buyers of the book and people that flip through it and read some of the stories behind the photos? What's maybe one? I know it is a very broad project and beautiful put together piece, but what is if you could pick one thing that you think would surprise folks?
That's a real tough thing to ask. Just being honest. I think probably the body of work. Again, because a lot of people don't really know about my photography. And so the fact that I kind of cover so much ground, I guess, and I get this question quite often, of course, well, what kind of pictures do you take? Do you just take portraits? Do you take what? I don't think you should be pigeonholed in any way, shape, or form. I think whatever appeals to you, whatever is striking to you, whatever you feel tells a story, a sense of emotion. Those are for me the guidelines. It's there's no specific rule, I don't think, and there shouldn't be, especially as with this being. It's another art form to me. It's a storytelling art form. I feel again that I'm just the messenger in some respects. I'm fortunate that I feel that certain things flow through me, and I think maybe picking the right shot is one of them. So I think it's the body of work and the different styles that I have. I mean, I haven't gone after these particular things. They've kind of come to me. So, and I've just felt that every collection that I've ever done has its own look, its own story. It kind of tells me what to do. I can't really describe that, but a black and white shot is not just a black and white shot to me. Again, every situation, even with desaturated pictures, are not all black and whites. That's why it's quite interesting when people have said, well, that's an interesting black and white. And I go, well, it's not black and white. It's desaturated. There are many forms of black and white. But anyway, if to answer your question, that would be the only surprise is the broad horizon of images that and stories that I do try to tell. I think I've been very fortunate to be in certain circumstances, and I tried to make the best of what's in front of me.
That's great. That's so good. For folks that are just joining us, again, we want to welcome these amazing gentlemen, Julian Lennon and Jan Hau. Is that how you say your last name?
Well, it's actually pronounced Haux.
Haux. Okay. Awesome.
Well,
not hoax. Haux.
Haux. Perfect. For those of you just joining us, you can get the book at fragilesignbook.com. Also, right now you can get 15% off using the code Fragile15 during the
You
checkout
can?
experience. You sure can right now. Hey, in light of that, in light of the book coming to people's doorsteps soon, we did want to give them just a quick sneak peek of some of the amazing and beautiful photographs. Could you both walk
Sure.
us through some of these?
Certainly. Yes, geisha. Geisha number one. Yeah, this was. I mean, I have to say, listen, they're all my babies. They're all favorites. But it's this was very much another painterly picture of mine. From the moment I took it, I felt that it could be a painting without question, or some other art form. Um, and the reason it appealed to me was that geishas, or Japanese, some of the Japanese people, in principle, they don't laugh out loud or smile out loud. You know, on my journeys over there, they would always cover themselves. That they would always cover their mouths if they were laughing or smiling, and with some element of embarrassment for their teeth or whatever. But and I did have shots of her. I wish I knew her name. I did have shots of her, you know, uh, with no smile or no teeth. And I thought it was just so unusual for her to show her teeth as a geisha. I found that more interesting and more appealing as a subject, because it showed her there's another element of a character, of a person under the makeup and everything else, and she's looking me straight in the eyes at the time, and it's a bit of a wry smile as well. Um, and that's why I felt it was an appealing shot. There's there's another geisha in there as well, who also has a glint in her eye. It's almost like the other side, seeing the other side of when they're not at work and when they're not living that particular life in front of us. And I just thought it was very cute and intriguing and just beautiful overall, regardless. And it was, I think Jan and I discussed that smiling, non-smiling aspect, and we both agreed that this was a slightly unusual element, um, and more intriguing. So that's why we decided to keep it in. I don't know if any points from you, Jan, about
But
this
it's also one
in
of the
particular.
very few images in the book that's not part of a collection.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Kind of a one-off. So that was interesting to see where we can place this in the flow of the entire book, where usually kind of one collection leads to the next one, and then here's she all of a sudden. Kind of, yeah, she really stands out in the book with all like the colors, the the whole Japanese theme. That's, yeah, I love that shot.
An interesting point that you just brought up, Jan, is that I've been guided as a self-taught photographer, so to speak, that I should I should be doing these collections, which is how I started out, which is why I have these kind of relatively large collections of 30 to 50 images, 20 to 50. But I have so many photographs that don't belong anywhere per se, and so this is very much one of those, and that's something I want to focus on more in the future, whether that's in another photography book or it's just in the of the work itself. Just not being so closed-minded in that regard of doing collections, but just having those one-off shots that really are quite beautiful and different and intriguing, without having to be part of something, just these moments in everyday life. And so this was a good representation of being being inclusive of this book as a starting point, so to speak. So kind of an important one in that respect.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that so much. I believe we have another one too. Painted Rainbows as the title of this one.
Well, I would like to say this was on a plane, but it was actually a very serious storm at sunset nearby my home, and it was extraordinary. It actually comes from the same clouds and same storm as another relatively known photograph of mine, which is a very, very seriously bright orange cloud called Blaze, which I believe that's in the book too. Is it? Yeah, no.
Yeah, it is.
So.
Yeah.
My I don't know anymore, to be honest. But this was the same time frame as that, and I just saw that little glimmer of the rainbow in there. And again, the picture, because I had to zoom in, it softened the edges of all the. I had to crop in, so soften the edges of what was going on with the cloud, and again made it more painterly. Again, which was what I was originally known for when I had my first exhibition, because most of the critics had said, that with my first exhibition in New York at the old CBGB's, which was the Morrison Hotel Gallery at that time, and half of the work was clouds, and the reviewers came back saying, well, yeah, my work was very painterly. So I got a kind of known for that initially, apart from a few rock and roll shots, which were the other half of the work at the time. But yeah, no, I've always loved that aspect of a photograph not being a photograph. Even now I still get the comments that, well, that looks like a painting to me. I agree, and I like it because of that fact. I love that fact. So this is just one of many painterly photographs of mine taken over the years.
Maybe a quick note to the cloud images that you were mentioning. Whoever's gonna buy the book or already have the book might notice that we're kind of using those cloud images as kind of a link between Julian's collections. So this is kind of a reoccurring theme that goes throughout the whole book, the reoccurring cloud images, which really, because we weren't sure what should we do with these cloud images.
Well, the clouds,
like the solution for it, and it works really well now. Looking at the printed book, I think
the clouds were in fact a break between collections, because the clouds themselves were not a collection. They were just a selection of the best cloud shots. So and again, moving forward to the exhibition at the museum in Venice that's coming to a close this week, that again, I used the book to break between different collections and different photographs in the sequence walking through the museum itself. So it really was a way of breaking those stories and collections up by putting clouds in between, enabling a bit of a break, a bit of a respite before your next room of different photographs and different collections. So it worked really, really well in that way, and would certainly be something I would continue to use in that fashion moving forward too. Mm.
So good. So good. I believe we have another one as well. Great.
Ah, yes. K.D. Lang. I was the backstory to this is there's a very good director who was hired to film the live show, which was it was after Leonard Cohen passed. So there was a show being put together by his son Adam in Montreal, and they were going to have the likes of Katie Lang, Sting, Lana Del Rey, the Lumineers, the list goes on. Damien Rice, a number of other artists, really great artists, and this director was. We're having dinner. He said, "Listen, I've got this job up here. Do you want to, I can't pay you, but I'll fly you up there and put you in a room. Why don't you, just come along and shoot whatever you can, and see if we can, maybe we'll make a book out of it. Maybe we'll do something with it, with the photographs. I don't know yet, but anyway, the offer's there." So I'd never done anything like that. So I said, okay. I seem to like jumping in the deep end for some reason. I don't know why I do it to myself. I really don't, but I do. So I fly up there and I'm snapping away. And I've mentioned this before that I'm pretty darn shy. And I was running around. Hi, just being fly on the wall that I am, or kind of guerrilla street shooting, that kind of approach. So I again fly on the wall. I didn't want to bother anybody, but they did have this moment where they decided between the rehearsals and the live show that they had set up this very small room in the back where they would interview all of the artists. And they literally had just one spotlight on the artists themselves. And the lighting was so great and heavily contrasted. And so I would again be sitting quietly, just trying to grab a few shots. And the great thing is that I've always used available lighting, natural lighting. I've never set up lighting in my entire life. I always try and hope for the best, really, at the end of the day. But the light was so perfect, lit documentary that they were making. Being able to shoot the lines or the blocks and this, that, and the other. It was a little tricky, but I managed to get some beautiful shots out of it. And the one thing with KD, especially, we done a few shows together in America, or we'd been on the same bill in years gone by when in my early days in my 20s. So we bumped into each other. I'd always been an absolute mega fan of hers because she's just so incredibly talented. But she actually got up on stage and sang Hallelujah. Now, I know a lot of people have done great covers of Hallelujah, and it's probably been over covered, dare I say it. But so they had a full orchestra there behind her, and I was supposed to be shooting pictures on the side, but she sang it so emotively. I mean, I don't think I've ever been moved so much by another performer in my entire life. I'm getting a little verklempt or choked up as we speak because she was so powerful, so emotive that I literally couldn't take photos of her live performance. I mean, I managed to just snap a few away, but I had, a few tears coming down my eyes with her performance, because it was just absolutely jaw dropping. So I'm happy that you. I mean, in the book you'll see there's a performance shot too of her right in the middle of it all. But you could tell the contemplation, the focus, and the seriousness of the moment for her, because she just wanted to deliver, the best that she could, and she certainly did. I mean, jaw dropping, and it's in the documentary, which for the life of me, I can't remember the title. Maybe someone will remind us before the end of this session. But I've never actually seen the documentary, but I certainly walked away from that experience. Tower of Song, that's what it was called, a tribute to Leonard Cohen. Thank you, Tasula. And so I walked away with some of the most beautiful, harsh contrast black and white photos of some great artists. As I said, Katie Lang, Sting, Lana Del Rey, the Lumineers, and a number of those are in the book, of course. And there's some of my favorite portrait work, without question. It was relatively effortless, and I just happened to be at the right time at the right place with the right lighting, and so very, very special, very, very special. For me, that's one of those pictures that will forever remind me of a time and a place. Being in Montreal, being with that kind of musical family. And meeting Adam, Leonard's son, and just being part of that whole thing. That's why I've said time and time again, for me, I have one of the worst memories of anyone I know. I truly do. I don't know what I had for breakfast. Did I have breakfast? See, I don't even know. But the fact of the matter is that photographs have really enabled me to remember uh, a great deal of my life. And quite often on a weekly basis, I'll rifle through, my catalog system, or even, iPhotos or whatever, and accidentally skip past a couple of years, and half of the stuff, you forget what you do. I mean, life is so full of so many things these days, and you're bombarded by things. You forget quite often what happens in life, and so photography has been such a great way of capturing those moments. Yes, to share with everybody else, of course, if they are interested. But for me, on a personal level, just this memory of the things that I've done, where I've been, how it's affected me emotionally and otherwise. It's just, and it's become a really, really, really important piece of a part, shall I say, of my life. It's extraordinary how it's, I won't say taken over, but it's certainly as equal to me as an art form as music is, as documentary work is, as writing is, etc., etc., etc. And again, I'm so thankful to Jan and to Noise to be able to have this opportunity to show a broad overview of the work that I've done so far, and hopefully much more to come.
That's right. That's right. We all hope so as well. I think we have one more in our sneak peek in our preview of the book.
Yes, Reminiscence. This is called. Yeah, yeah, obviously New York is a big one for me because Dad used to live there, and America was an important thing as a European coming over and discovering what America was like and how incredible it was. And funnily enough, it was one of those days, as you can see, it's a bit cloudy, a bit moody, as we would say. And a dear friend of mine used to go, I do a lot of walking. It's my thing these days. And I would often walk to work in New York, and that would be up to 50 blocks, if not more, on a daily basis. And I was the friend that I go and do this with, who's another photographer, Dominic Conde. You know, I'd always heard about Staten Island and the ferries. I'd always seen the ferries going around, and it was like one of those days where you just say, well, what can we do today? We should do something. Don't want to just sit in the hotel. Yeah, it's a bit moody and chilly outside, but there's got to be something to do. So let's get on the ferry. And we did. And we were in Staten Island for a very short time, as it was getting late also. And there were only a number of ferries coming back. But on the way back, actually leaving and coming back, I of course had my camera with me, and I just thought that this was such a beautiful image, because it represented so much to me on so many levels. Lady Liberty with freedom, the industrial element of America as well, the birds, free as a bird. There a lot of things that meant a lot, and so those are just a few of the reasons why this was an important picture to not only take but include in the book. So it's an important one for me.
That's right.
I think that's why we put it in the back of the book. It's kind of the final note. It's not the last.
It is. No, it's not. But
a few more. But
it's near the end.
Kind of
near the end.
On that note, and there's been, millions of photographs of Lady Liberty, but this still different.
Yeah, it's intriguing to find. Not that I was looking for a different way to shoot Lady Liberty, but it's intriguing to know that there are many ways to shoot one thing.
That's right. That's right. That's so good. Thank you so much for taking us on this walk through these photographs. Folks that are just joining us, you can get these photos in this amazing book, as well as many, many more at fragilesignbook.com. And please use the code Fragile15 for 15% off. Looking at these 4 photos, again, thank you so much for sharing those with us. I don't necessarily see an exclusivity within any type of track. Can you speak to that a little bit? And you alluded to this earlier about the variety of subject matter that is in this book, and then in your broader work as well.
Well, what do you mean? Give me a bit more specific. A question, if you can.
Yeah, no, of course. So we have the photos of the geisha and of Katie and the clouds and the sea, of course. Was that a specific theme going into this project? You just wanted a bit of a broad elements and broad photos and everything, or did it just kind of happen because of what you've been able to walk into, as you alluded to earlier?
Well, I didn't, at the beginning of this process, I didn't really know how we were going to do what we were going to do. It's like most things that I find myself doing. And again, it's reliance on the experience of others. And again, I think once we had all agreed about the fact that it was going to be a retrospective of the work of all these different collections. I mean, there's a few things we did leave out, but you got to leave room for part 2, right? Yeah, no, listen, I hope this is the first of many books, photography books to come. there's a lot more work, believe you me. You know, as I said, we edited thousands down. So yeah, again, the idea was to include as many, at least of the most important, not only images but collections or elements of those collections within this book. And it didn't matter what the subject matter was, whether it was me, you know, on behalf of the White Feather Foundation in either, you know, Ethiopia or Kenya or South America or Colombia, you know, with the indigenous, or whether it was mad trips that I just decided to go on because, you know, I had a week off, and I'm not one who can sit on a lounger. You know, I need to do things. I really do, and I like, you know, having those experiences in life. I'm a go-getter. I like to discover. So the book is, you know, is part of that lifestyle of mine, which is that even if it's work orientated projects, or whether it's just the fact that I had a week off or a weekend or even an afternoon off, and I'll just say, I'm getting in the car, I'm taking the camera, boom, I'm going. So it's about including all of those elements and what you can find in that, you know. I mean, you know, I surprise myself half the time when I just think I'm just going to pop down the road or up into the mountains for a minute, you know, and the next thing that you know, you're confronted by, you know, one of the most beautiful sunsets you've ever seen, or mountains, or landscapes, or you've come across, you know, a lake that you'd never been to. You know, just I mean, all of this stuff is intriguing to me, and joyful to me. I mean, just you know, and the thing about photography is that you're able to share this kind of mad passion and mad joy. You know, as I've said in a number of interviews and little video clips and little mini movies and things. That, yeah, if I see something and it really affects me, I have to take a picture of it. And that's, again, initially for my memory, for my experience. But then you get to a point where you have many photographs and you go, well, maybe I should share some of this stuff, you know. And that's how this all came about initially. One thing led to another, you know, and now I'm literally at over, I think, 42 exhibitions worldwide over the last 15 years or whatever it's been, you know. So I've been grinding, that's for sure, to get the work out there. So that's why this is my baby, you see. That's why this is so important. And I've just been, you know, very fortunate, and I'm a lucky boy, and that's why I'm thankful that people are also interested in seeing the work, and that's why I'm more than happy to be here chatting with you and trying to sign all of these book plates, but not having a moment because I can't stop bloody talking.
Maybe one quick thing that's worth
Yeah.
mentioning. People who are not familiar with the book yet. Julian wrote little short texts to some of the collections or some of the individual images from, like, on a very personal note, which I think is such a beautiful addition to just the photographs. It's not just a photo book, but you get all the kind of, you know, background stories, insights, which I think adds a lot to the book and makes it kind of unique and just very personal. This is what I really like about this particular.
Yeah, because I think originally that wasn't part of the plan. I think that became became part of the plan because certain things needed, I felt, needed a little bit of backstory, a little bit of explaining, a little bit of understanding. So I think with certain circumstances, it made sense to just pass on a few comments. But again, those are just the kind of highlights of the stories behind the photography. But again, my first book, so we'll see what happens next time around.
That's right.
More books to come. More books to come.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Well, hey, we have some fan questions I want to get to. What is your favorite type of camera to use? Whether it was through this project or just in general.
One that works.
One that works. That's right. That's right. One that'll capture the moment.
Yeah, listen, I don't think it matters what camera you have, whether it's your phone or a camera. It's about capturing a moment or something that intrigues you, inspires you. That's what it's about. I will say that, excuse me, losing my voice, talking too much again as usual. The one thing I did learn that made a huge difference to me was perspective. And that came about due to the session that I had, a very brief session with U2. And they were rehearsing and writing and recording. And I was, Edge said, would you like to come and take a few photographs? And I said, well, yes, of course. Well, of course. Why wouldn't I? But I knew they were very private people. They when they're doing their work, they don't want anybody annoying them, especially me. And so it was funny because I'd taken a few photos of them working, and I took them back to my computer just to have a look on the screen, and I went, these are absolutely not very good. And they didn't look good at all. I was going, what's missing here? And I didn't know what was missing. And then there was one picture that changed everything. And I mean everything in photography for me. And that was, I was laying on the floor. It's a photograph with Bono called Someone to Look Up To. And I was laying on the floor and he was sitting in front of me. But in the background was a picture of, and I've told this story a few times before, there was a picture of Dad when he was about 17 or 18, I think, in Germany, in Hamburg, a photo taken by Astrid. And I was laying on the floor just listening to him chatting away with my camera and looking up, and I went, oh my God. I said, that's, hello, wake up, come in, number 9. And I just, I saw the juxtaposition and the relevance of this. And initially, as jokingly, I called it a Lennon sandwich because there was me laying on the floor, Bono in the middle, and Dad on the other side of him. And once I'd seen that, I just thought, oh my God, that's what it's all about. It's my take, my perspective on it. It's just not an overview shot like a postcard, like a holiday trip. It has to tell more of a story, and the perspective of that photo changed everything for me. Because I'd taken straightforward shots of them before in the same room, but not quite at that angle. And that angle made all the difference. And it was such a simple thing. So again, for me, I've been through a number of cameras, and I've loved them all, and I still have every camera I've ever bought as part of a collection, although that needs editing too. I can't say that I have a favorite because they're all great, but Canon, Sony, and Leica, of course. I've done exhibitions around the world with Leica, with the Leica galleries, and they've all been good to me, you know. So, and even our phones these days, as we know, we can take pretty amazing shots on our phones. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can never really beat a good lens and a camera, you know.
Sure.
But you know, again, as long as you have imagination, as long as you have perspective and an idea, and you're moved by something, you know, it doesn't matter what camera you have. At least that's my belief.
That's right. That's right.
Listen, I'm gonna say goodbye to you. I'll leave you here. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Jules.
so much.
Yeah,
Jesse, thank you so
good to
much.
see you again.
Take care.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
kind
me.
sir.
Take
We'll
care,
speak
everyone.
soon.
Bye.
We'll speak
Bye,
again,
guys.
Jan. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for joining us today.
That's right.
Okay,
We'll
just you
see.
and me, Jesse. Come
That's
on,
right.
Jesse.
Let's go for it. We'll see you on in the next project, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Yeah, we do have a couple more fan questions, and then we'll move
Sure.
into our rapid fire. And those of you that are with us, please stay tuned. We've got an amazing sneak preview of the exhibition that is in Venice right now, and Jules is going to be closing soon. You mentioned.
Yeah, sadly, it's been on in Venice for coming up to 3 months now. So uh, uh, um, it's been a satellite to the Venice Biennale, which has been fantastic, and in the same museum space on the grand lower floor, it's been a retrospective of Helmut Newton, which is an amazing show, and I'm upstairs on the first floor in the eaves. And so, you know, how could I resist, you know, being alongside doing a retrospective show alongside Helmut Newton, who's an incredible photographer. So, I was happy to be there. Yeah, you know, if I could, I'd want to leave it up forever. But you know, there are other people that want to do shows. We're in the process of talking to other museums about taking the entire exhibition to other places. In some circumstances, there isn't always the room. We've got a lot of big photos up at this exhibition, but so there may be even more edited down versions of this exhibition in other smaller spaces and galleries. I believe we have one coming up in Milan in around Design Week in April next year, and another one in New York later, maybe in March, I think. So there's a few other shows coming on throughout next year, on the photography front. So I'm excited and happy about that. One or two musical projects too, and other documentary work as well. One I'm very excited about. I just started a company called White Feather Films, tied in with the White Feather Foundation, and we've just exec produced a very exciting film coming out soonish. So, as you will see, I will leave it at that for now. That's all I can say. Thank you very much. But a busy boy as always.
I was going to say, so you're not busy at all. I wanted to pay homage to the previous question. That was a question from Annie from Texas. So Annie, thank you for
Thank you, Annie.
Camera. We have got one from Colin from Maryland, and I want to make sure I honor this question. It's a beautiful question. Is photography for you a celebration of the beauty captured through the lens, or does it serve as a quiet refuge and an artful escape, seeing life framed with its own parentheses of existence?
Mrs. I would have to say both. I would absolutely say both. That it takes on both of those elements. Certainly, I find great joy in being behind the camera instead of in front of it. You know, it's just my thing. I don't mind goofing around in front of a camera once in a while, but and I mean whether that's film or stills. Personally, I can't stand having my photograph taken. Uh, so the idea of doing photo sessions, you have to find a special photographer to work with me on those, and they're good lads. But yeah, I mean, behind the camera for me has become such a joy. But it's also, again, the work that comes after that. I do a fair amount of editing in trying to make the picture look as good as it can be, whether that's desaturation, a little fine tuning here and there. I never over edit by any means, but I'll certainly crop things a little differently than perhaps the original picture just to get more out of it. But yeah, I love the artistry of it. I love the storytelling of it. Or just the piece about it, again, with certain landscapes and certain clouds, or a certain squint in someone's eye. It's all magical, and it's trying to get those stories across, which I love, and I'm really driven in this field. I've just I'm very, very passionate about it. Once I'm in the photo zone, whether that's even cataloging all the work, there's so many more photographs I have to show. So we'll see. If hoping the book does well, and if it's liked enough, I will certainly be delivering far more, because it's nothing but a joy to me. To be able to share these images with people. That's just as it's like as I'm a fan of any other photographer too, Elliot Erwitt, and the list goes on.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that so much. Colin, wonderful question. Keep them coming. Deborah from California would like to know, how has photography influenced your music, and what do you see in the marriage of both of those things in the future?
There is no connection in that regard. It doesn't influence either way. But they are just creative mediums. One is visual, one is audio. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of it for me. I don't really see a connection in that regard. It's yeah. That I can't go even further into giving you a more cleaner or clearer answer, because the two don't really merge for me. One is something I do with my ears and my mind and my heart. The other is something I do with my eyes and my mind and my heart. So they're equally as important, but just different expressions.
That's right. Well put. Well put. Mariana from Brazil would like to know, what city do you wish to photograph that you haven't yet?
Everywhere I haven't been.
That's right.
That's what I wish to photograph, where I have not photographed. So and believe it or not, I've not been to that many places. There's still a lot to be photographed. I mean, listen, I could spend, a year just in my area here taking photographs, never mind another location. But fortunately, work takes me, different kinds of work takes me all over the world. So when the moment is there and I've got my camera with me, I'll be clicking away.
That's right. That's great. Awesome. Well, again, folks, you can get the book now at fragilesignbook.com for the autographed copy as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're going to move into our fan favorite, a bit of our rapid fire Q&A. So I guess.
Oh, shoot. Okay. buckle up.
So some are, these first ones are kind of softballs. So where were you born?
Liverpool.
Liverpool, love it. What was your first job?
I actually used to wait at a restaurant, but with my dear friend Justin Clayton. But we'd sneak too many drinks behind the bar and spill too many soups, and were rapidly fired. That was one job. Actually, I used to work on a farm too. But that was more kind of pocket money, but still that added to buying musical equipment in the early days. As putting hay out in the fields in the middle of winter. That was fun.
Ooh, man, that sounds intense. What is the one thing that you have to have in your fridge at all times?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Yes.
Preferably dark chocolate,
Dark
because it's
chocolate.
much better for you. But yeah, every once in a while, there's a glitch in the matrix.
Who is the most interesting person that you have met recently?
Recently, I went. Well, no, I was going to be funny for a sec by waking up and looking in the mirror every day, but that's not the case. The weirdest, maybe, but not the most interesting. Haven't been out a lot recently, and I mean that. So that's a difficult one to answer. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I really can't.
No worries
It's
at
all a
all.
blur. It's all a blur.
For those of you who don't know, what is your middle name?
Which one?
What are your middle names?
Well, it used to be. My name used to be John Charles Julian Lennon, but I changed it by Deepole in 2020 partly with the release of the album Jude, because I figured it was finally time to embrace that and call it my own. I decided, listen, all my life I've been called Julian, so it just made sense for me to finally become Julian, and so in 2020 I changed it to Julian Charles John Lennon. Charles being my mother's father's name, and Julian was actually Dad's mother's name. It was Julia. As many Julians are spelt with an E, I am spelt with an A, and that is because of that, basically.
Good. Nice. Well, that's something that we share. Charles is my middle name, and here we go.
Charlie, Chuck.
There we go. That's right. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Don't get me started.
Hey.
Can we do a whole show on pet peeves? I'm sorry to say, but God, how do I narrow? How do I edit this one down? I think one of the most annoying ones is that people in cars do not indicate, therefore allowing other people to know where they're going. So that is certainly one. Or the other one I think would be people who are permanently glued to their phones. That's just too much to take, and there are many circumstances that anyway, I'll shut up now.
Sure. No, I was going to say you. I guess you drive in America a lot because that is a feat across all the states.
It's a feat everywhere. Believe you me, I don't know how these people get their licenses. How can you not just flick that little thing to let people know you're taking a bloody left? Excuse my French. Anyway, sorry. Next question, please.
What is your favorite hobby apart from photography and music? What is the other thing that keeps you busy that you love the most?
Walking. Predominantly, it started because the only way that I could eventually, once the certain rules were lifted after COVID, was the only way that I could get out and about and be active. because I'm not a gym guy. I don't like that. So, no, thanks. I want movement to be natural for me, and so I live in such a beautiful area and coastline that, and with also mountains behind that. When I could get out, I just started walking everywhere, and slowly but surely took the camera with me as well. Um, so that's really a fave. Because again, depending on the weather, the light, and everything else, every day can be different, and every day can be a different experience. Even if you're on the same path, depending on who you might bump into, or again, whether the sun's out, or the clouds are out, or it's windy, or the list goes on.
Goes on. That's right. That's right. No, walking is an amazing hobby. I love that. What is your guilty pleasure TV show? Do you have one?
Wow.
After the work's done, what goes on?
Wow. Oh, I have a number, I'm afraid. But I'm going to edit it down for you. I'm not going to tell you what the others are. Well, one of them is a long-standing soap opera from England called EastEnders. It's where one can switch everything off and realize that. Anyway, I won't go into that. That's another conversation. But the one I guess the real my favorite, one of my favorites of all time. I mean, I do love, Planet Earth and a lot of those BBC documentary type programs and shows. But I think as I love shows like that. But my favorite at the moment, and it's a show that I catch, thankfully, because a network is reprising it and playing it again, is any show that Anthony Bourdain is on.
Yes.
He did a whole series for CNN. CNN. Oh God, what's it called? Help!
Greece, I believe it was?
Parts unknown.
Oh, pardon.
Where he travels the world and really goes to the most incredible places and eats the most incredible things, but also you get an understanding of the cultures and the places that he's visiting, and it's extraordinary because he did a lot of that, and so that's always been very exciting to me. As with one thing I'll say is that a lot of people have written to me in the past saying what photographs do for them is that it's if they can't afford to travel, whether that's financial or physical, photographs show them the other side of the world or the truth or other cultures. And I feel that Bourdain and that show and the shows that he's done do the same for me, in that I discover all this very, very interesting stuff through his eyes and his stomach and his conversations.
That's right. That's right. Taking the food theme into the next level, what is your guilty pleasure junk food? You have a
In-N-Out burger,
yes.
animal style.
Yep. There we go. I don't know if they're going to make it where are you currently, by the way?
I'm in Europe.
Okay. I don't know if they're going to make it out that way anytime soon, but
I know this is you see, this is why I have a lot of good friends in LA, which is where I used to live for quite a few years. But they're not the only reason I go to California. Let me tell you.
That's right. Oh man. Do you have a favorite documentary? And if so, what is it?
That's difficult. I would say my own. Ha ha. There are too many great documentaries out there. I mean, Kiss the Ground. I mean, I was an exec producer on that, but Kiss the Ground was a pretty eye-opening documentary that really opened people's eyes about food and land and cultures and what we've done and how we've destroyed the very planet that feeds us, and how we can fix a lot of those problems. And there was also a follow-up called Common Ground, documentary by the same people, which I was on board with as well. And that again dealing with the next steps, the next levels of trying to turn things around with regenerative farming, etc., etc., etc.
That's right. Oh, I love that. I love that. I'll have to give that a watch, fans. Kiss the Ground. Make sure you watch that.
Yes.
All right, two more. Where do you want to go that you've never been?
Either very far north or very far south. I've been across, left and right. But I really, the Arctic or Antarctic. I mean, Patagonia and Chile and down there. And I've never been that far south nor that far north. And those, I would love to see the ice caps before, hopefully not before it's too late. But yeah, I've never been to those regions before, and I think I would manage to take some beautiful pictures there. Aside from just the experience of being in somewhere so unique and so special and so wild and unforgiving at the same time, I think it would be a reminder of how precious this life is and this planet is. So those would be my first choices.
That's great. That's great. I was going to say, with your affinity for cloud photography, there'd be something amazing.
I just saw one quick one come in. Would you like to go to space? Yes, I would. I would. I wrote a song called Space on my first album. I was hoping that they might use that at some point, but they never did. No, I wanted to be the first muso to be in space, but that never happened either. But yeah, I'm very intrigued. I'd love to see Earth, our blue planet, from above. I really, really would. One day, I see fulfilling that dream. It's not that far away. People are already bouncing around up there, so I would definitely love to do that.
It only takes one person, then hey, everyone else. All right, last question. Would you rather have a year-long winter or a year-long summer?
I hate hypotheticals. It's true. It's true. Because it's just not realistic. Well, although the way we're going, look at the history of planet Earth. There were some very, very cold times for many, many years. I can't answer that. I'm the kind of balanced guy, in the middle kind of guy. I like a bit of this and a bit of that, and not all of that or all of that.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man, I love that we've been able to share this time with you, highlighting this incredible book. I wanted to ask you one last thing, and I want you to highlight and give you a bit of a platform for the White Feather Foundation and what led you to start that, what folks can do.
Oh, long story. Long story short. Indigenous tribe in Australia called the Mourning People. I was on tour in Australia with what was my number one single, Saltwater, which is about the environment. And I was introduced to the Mourning People in Adelaide. And I was presented in the lobby of the hotel by a number of the Mourning tribe with the elder Iris, who was a lovely woman, and many of the tribe. And she walked up to me in front of a number of people and camera crews and gave me a male swan's white feather, which is about yay big. And she said to me, "You have a voice. Can you help us?" At that much time, I didn't know anything about their cause, their plight, and the other thing that obviously a lot of people like to hear is the fact that Dad had said to me, and I can't say exactly when or where, it was just a time and a place. He said that, if something happens to me, the way in which I'll let you know that I'm going to be okay, or that we're all going to be okay, it'll be in the form of a white feather. And so when I was handed that white feather, to me, that meant, you have a choice here. You either just continue being a rock and roller and, that's it, or you step up to the plate and you do something about what was going on. And after doing a bit of research, and finding out the plight of so many indigenous tribes around the world and how they were being shafted, dare I use another word, and I just felt that I needed to do something. And so we started, a friend and I, we were throwing names back and forth, and we had done a document. No, sorry. Well, after that we made a documentary. A friend and I, Kim Kindersley, made a documentary about the indigenous tribe and tribes around the world, and the totem in Australia. That particular tribe was a whale, and it was called Whale Dreamers. It was my first experience into exec producing a documentary, and we won a couple of independent film awards, but we didn't have the money to really market it. So that was the beginning, and with the advent of the internet and everything else, I thought, well, we can sell the documentary online. And then people kept sending emails in going, well, can you help us? Can you help us? And I'm going, well, I'm not really, a foundation or a charity. But a couple of things started to touch my heart, and I just thought, well, what if I could use this platform? Why can't we take it to the next level, and work on donations, and just be inspired to work on causes that I felt close to. Obviously, indigenous tribes, their cultures, their history, the land that they lived on. That was the first for us. Then, clean water was another biggie, still is, will always be. And health and education, especially for girls. I saw a lot of examples of very difficult times in Africa and a number of other places. And so, I started a scholarship for girls on behalf of my mother, Cynthia. And so that's where it all kind of began. And, we live on donations. So it's all you folks out there that really make a difference and help me make a difference. And again, with everything I do, if it's an album sold or a book sold, a percentage of that book goes to the White Feather Foundation to help all of those people in need. We're not the biggest voice out there, but we certainly do what we can. And I say that we try and help the people that fall through the cracks, where the big charities don't always cover ground. We're trying to be there to support whomever we can and whatever we can, with help, with a little help from our friends. Ha ha ha! Thank you very much, and good night.
That's right. That's right. Well, dare I say, you're helping people that are experiencing their own fragile moments as well. So again, Julian, thank you so incredibly much. I know all the fans that have been able to join in are very thankful for just a deep insight to the project. Folks, you can get the book now at fragilesignbook.com. Again, please use the code Fragile15. In closing, Julian, do you have a 60-second pitch on the book? If you were in an elevator with someone, what would you tell them about to buy this book?
See you at the bar? No, kidding. again, the book's an important piece of work that shows just another medium of stuff that I do, and it's again, it's linked to some of the charitable work, the foundation work of the White Feather Foundation, and again, as I said, a percentage of the sales of the book go to the White Feather Foundation to help. But the book is about my work and travels over the last 15 years or more of my life, and this is just one sample. And I hope that I'll be doing many more books down the road, as I've got many of the photographs, and I'll be taking many more photographs. But yeah, I do hope you enjoy it. It really is my baby. I'm so proud of it. Out of nothing comes something, and this is something. I hope you enjoy it, and I thank everybody for buying it, and who are going to buy it, and thank those out there today for joining us. I wish I could say hello to everybody, but that's impossible. But I send my love out to everyone, and thanks for being here and joining Jesse and I and Jan today. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to next time.
That's right. That's right. And as I teased earlier, we're going to close out with a preview of the virtual Whispers exposition in Venice, and we're crossing our fingers for more exhibitions around the world. That's it for now. This has been Live Signing, brought to you by Premier Collectibles. Please enjoy.